Again with PeltonAdventures.com, and we're back here with Harvey the RV to show you a little bit of the plumbing, sewer, and electrical connections you're going to need. Before we get started though, you're probably wondering, why is the ground all wet? Well, I'll tell you why. This is the master bedroom slide, and I pulled it in to be able to access getting these doors all the way open so I'm not hitting my head the whole time doing this. That said, the reason it's all wet is this RV is equipped with slide toppers. They're basically awnings over each slide, and when you pull the slide in, they roll in. Well, it rained here last night, so water comes pouring off of those things when you pull them in. So a reminder, make sure all the windows are shut before you pull slides in, or you're going to have a wet mess. So anyway, just a quick tip there, but back to our connections here. So what we're going to start with first is our electrical. Okay, this is how I like to do it, and it's the one you don't need gloves for. We're going to save the sewer for last. So with the electrical, if you pull way in here, you'll see that there's a white cover that you can unscrew, and it reveals a couple of big holes, one bigger, one smaller. The big one is for your 50 amp connection, which is what we're connected to here, and you're going to fish that through, and you're going to pull this cord right on out of there, however much you need to connect to your power pole at your campground. Now, I'm at my house here. I don't have a power pole for us to hook to, but I'm going to tell you what needs to get done, and we'll probably have a later video where I am actually connecting it, but this will at least show you what to do. So when you plug this in, if you've got a 50 amp connection, this is what you'll use. If you don't have a 50 amp connection, I've got this, which is a reducer that can get you all the way down to 110. So if, let's say there's only a 30 amp connection, you would take this guy, you'd plug it into here, and you'd end up with plugs for a 30 amp. So it's just a adapter, so pretty straightforward. Now, when you do connect this to the campground power pole, there typically is a breaker on the power pole. If there is, you can go ahead and actually plug it in, but leave that breaker off. Inside of Harvey, he's got an electrical panel in there with a 50 amp main breaker that we're going to want to have off before we fire up the power and be able to turn it on the inside. The reason for that is we don't want any jolts of electricity surprising us, so we want to be inside when we put it on. Where that's located, right now the master bed is pushed up against that cabinet, so we can't get to it. So once we get all connected, power off out here, or if there is no switch on your power pole, then just leave it unplugged out here until we can pull this slide out when we're done working out here to be able to get to that panel. So there's your electrical. All right, moving on to plumbing. Back here, you will find a white drinking water hose. This is only to be used for potable water, nothing else. When I store it, and you'll do the same thing when you disconnect, I connect the two ends together. That keeps bugs or anything else from getting into it when it's not in use. So I always do that. The second thing you're going to want to do is get out some disinfecting wipes, okay? So the disinfecting wipes, you're going to want to clean the ends before we hook up. So get out a wipe here. This might have been two. It is. Oh boy. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you where to route this hose through and how to hook it up. So start by getting this disconnected here. The male end is the part that's going to get hooked up inside of the rig here. So what we're going to do is we are going to have to get a little close here to see, but below, you're going to come in from the bottom where our electrical cord comes through. If you can see that, those holes there are two holes. The electrical cord goes through the larger one, and the smaller one is for your drinking water. Okay, so we're going to run the hose up through that, pull it on through. We are going to wipe with disinfecting wipes both the male and the female end of this. Oops, I just knocked the washer out of there. Okay, so let me set this down. There's a washer that goes right inside of this hose end here, and that's what keeps you from dripping, just like your hose at home. So anyway, now that both of those connections have been wiped down, we get our threads aligned, Get on there, cross-threading it a little bit. That's not going to work. There we go. Just be gentle with it. It is plastic, so it can only take so much. We don't want to cross-thread it, and we don't want to over-tighten. Now that those threads have bit, we just give it a little tug fitting. So your sewer is all on this side. So this is a divider. This is why we've got our water and electrical going out that separate one. Everything else here stays where it is. So then you come back, and again, we're at my house, so I don't have a connection to hook it to this end. Again, with the sanitizing wipes and your plumbing connection at the power pole there, plumbing and electrical pole. You'll wipe that down and connect this. Again, this has a rubber washer in there. I think this one's actually might be a polyurethane one, but either way, that'll keep you from doing that. So that'll get connected there, okay? When you're done, it's just the opposite. You're gonna pull everything apart. You're gonna wipe these out, both ends, line the hose up, connect the two together, and back into the storage area, okay? The last step is going to be your sewer connection. Now this end is not quite as, I guess, forthcoming, so this one is probably a little bit, takes a little bit more to learn and make sure that everything's connected. We've got rubber gloves in here for you. So the first step is you're going to be wanting to put those on. Okay? So your sewer connection, whoops, I got my thumb going in the wrong side there. All right. Has a very similar cap to it as the electrical side does. So it's got a black cap over here, kind of right behind this tank, that you're going to unscrew, set aside, and that's going to open up your hole for your sewer. You're going to need this whether you're hooking up to a sewer at a campsite or whether you're dumping at a dump station. You're going to need to run the sewer hose through there, or else it will not drain properly. It will come out, it will bind, you'll have a clog, and that's no fun for anybody. There's a cap. If we get in real close here, you'll see that there is a cap on the end of this. That is what you're going to want to open right here to connect to your sewer. Before you do that, if you see this black thing here and this gray valve here, those are gate valves to open your black water tank and your gray water tank. Your black water tank is your poop water. Your gray water tank is like your shower water, your sink water, those sorts of things. Make certain that both of those are closed, okay? You do not want to open this cap and have one of those valves open, or you will have a mess. First step, after making sure that those are shut, is you are going to remove this cap, okay? It's got kind of these hooks on them there, okay? So now we're going to go back to our sewer box and we're going to get our hose out. Okay, so these hoses are your sewer hoses. There are two of them in there. There's different connections on them, and they can be connected together. So these also have caps on them, just similar to the other one. So what you're going to want to do is I always leave the cap on it until I've got a chance to run it up in through this hole. I don't want any spills. So you're going to take from the bottom up through the hole that we have here from our opening there. I'm trying to step out of the way so we can get the camera in here. If you look, I hope the camera's picking this up, but there are tiny little knobs on here and on here. And so I've got the wrong side. So you can look and see that I've got the side that has the knobs on there, and that also has the knobs. So that's not going to work. This is something that is very easily mistaken and may happen to you. So very simple. You pull it back out, and you need the end that has the hooks, okay? It's the same process. We're going to take and pull it on through, and we look. We've got our bumps and we've got our hooks. That's good. So we can remove this cap, set it aside, and that's connected. It's just a simple little turn to hook those knobs up. You're going to keep your gates closed still, okay? Now when you come back, there is an elbow in this box. There's also another sewer cord, so if you got to go further, you can go further. But you've got your elbow here. This elbow has the hooks. This has the knobs. This will screw into the sewer at your campsite. There's 3 different sizes, and those are the common sizes. So this elbow gets screwed into that, pointing the right way, and then we'll get connected on this. Okay? Now, we've got this guy here. So as you can see, this is coming down, and it's kind of hitting a low spot and coming back up. You're going to have trouble with drainage. So this is a pretty simple, kind of cool adult slinky that gets used. And you can quite simply pull it out. It's higher in the back, lower in the front. So you can kind of lay this out so that you get a good slope going to your sewer. So that's actually pretty close right there. I might have a little bit of a high spot, but again, this is for demonstration purposes, and it's going to be different at every campground. Now, when you go and get started, you're going to keep your black tank and your gray tank closed. You do not want to just open them and let it flow the whole time you're there. You're going to want to come out here and drain them every so often. I'll show you how to check the tank levels. The reason for that is twofold. Number one, the black tank, when you go to the bathroom, the solids are going to go to the bottom and the liquid stays up top. If it's just draining every time, there's not much liquid in that tank, you're going to end up with clogs. So there has to be liquid in that tank. Secondly, the gray tank is, like I said, your soapy water, your shower water, things like that. You certainly wouldn't want to drink it, but it's not as nasty as the black tank. So that gray tank, when that gets released, that rinses this hose out. So black tank first, gray tank second. Any questions, let us know. But hopefully this was a pretty good description of your sewer connections, your draining, your dumping. The dumping process is exactly the same with the exception of this. You typically don't need it, but you might, depending on each campground's different. But they're typically designed to be downhill. The other thing is, when you are draining the black tank, there is a black tank rinse right here. So this just pulls off of there. And you can, most dump stations will have a hose connection at them. There are actually, there's basically shower head type of situation inside of the black tank, and you can turn that on, and that will help to clean out the black tank. It's a good idea to do when you do your final dump. Probably not anywhere to really hook it up at your campsite, because that's going to be for your potable water. You do not want to hook that up to that. They're going to have a clean out station at the dump station for that. The last thing I just want to mention about the plumbing, so right above where I just said that black tank was is a bypass valve. You'll see bypass valve, and then there's a spot here that says fill tank. So Harvey the RV has a, I believe it's an 80-gallon water tank inside of it. So that tank that can be on bypass when you are hooked to campground water. And the reason it can be on bypass is you're taking the water from this nice white hose, and it's feeding all your plumbing inside. You do not have to fill the tank in order to do that. The fill tank would only be for if you really were boondocking or needed to park somewhere and have water on board. But as a general rule, that will remain on bypass because you do not need to generally fill that tank. So that was the last thing I wanted to mention. Thanks again for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you.